What about second breakfast?
Time for second breakfast.
What's up, everybody? Monster from Breakdowns for Breakfast here with another second breakfast. Another concert review second breakfast. So, as we have seen in the past, Monster will go to see just about anybody in concert. And if it turns out Mrs. Monster and one of the baby monsters also like these bands, it can be a family affair. So this time, I'm here to talk about the concert that me, my wife, and my 6-year-old just went to, BabyMetal, featuring Black Veil Brides and Bloodywood. Now, this was on June 20th, so I'm recording this July 1st. So it was just a couple weeks ago, and it was at the Skyla Credit Union in Charlotte, which, funny story about that, I had actually thought I had bought tickets for Raleigh at a place called the Red Hat Amphitheater and did not realize I picked the Charlotte, it was actually in Charlotte, until me and my wife and my daughter were in the car leaving to go. And I was like, she was like, Red Hat, right? And I said, yeah. And then I pulled up the tickets and I was like, nah. And so got a little bit worried because we had to drive to Charlotte on a Friday, and I think I have made it very clear in my videos and my rantings that Charlotte traffic sucks, like real bad sucks. And if it's on the weekend around 4, 5, or 6, it sucks even harder. So thankfully, the Skyla Credit Union, though, is sort of like you don't have to go down into Uptown to get to it. So it's much easier to get in and out, and you don't have to stress so much. So that was nice. A little bit about this particular location before I get into the show. So we have this little area in Charlotte called the NC Music Factory, and it's really cool because it's essentially like a hub of restaurants and clubs and bars. And as far as the music part goes, there's like 3 separate venues. So you've got Skyla Credit Union Amphitheater, which is like one of those big ones that holds like, it's not the great big ones that hold like 20, 30,000 people. It's the smaller ones that are more in the 5 to 10 range. But before you get there, like if you're walking up the sidewalk, you'll pass the Fillmore, which is one of the bigger, nicer venues in North Carolina. I've played there a couple of times. They get a lot of big tours that come through there. Matter of fact, that 20 Years of Tears tour that me and Danger went to last year with Thursday and Hawthorne Heights and a couple more, that was there at the Fillmore. But then they also have a tiny venue attached to the Fillmore that probably holds maybe 400 or 500 people. Is called the Underground. And the Underground is where I saw Issues with Polyphia and Sleep Token back in 2019. It's a really cool venue too. It's just much smaller. So they've got 3 different like levels of venue depending on the size of the acts they have coming through. So, but this was at the amphitheater. This is at like the biggest part of it. And so we got there with plenty of time to spare, no rush. Actually, so we got there, we just got lawn seats because it's a smaller amphitheater. The lawn is just perfectly straight on to the crowd, the stage, because it sort of like dips down. So if you've ever been to an amphitheater, you know how that goes. And since it's a smaller space, it's really not bad. Even up until BabyMetal, the headliner, my 6-year-old could pretty much see the stage just standing there. During certain songs and certain times we did pick her up, obviously. But so anyway, get there with plenty of time. My first thing to do, my wife takes my daughter to the restroom, and as they go by, they've got all the merch set up. And so she was sending me pictures of the merch, and I tell you, I mean, again, I understand Metallica had like 80,000 people. I get it. But I stood in line for maybe 15 minutes to buy 3 t-shirts. Yes, I know. Concert t-shirts are the most overpriced thing in the world, and I bought 3. I understand that I am part of the problem. But look, I'm a fan of all 3 of these bands. So again, it's Bloodywood is the opener, and then Black Veil Brides, and then BabyMetal. So because my daughter is 6, it's kind of hard to buy her shirts, you know. Obviously, I could buy her a small or medium. She'd grow into it. But she wanted a poster. So I got her a poster, and then I got her a little keychain, a little BabyMetal poster and keychain. The Black Veil Bride shirt I bought, I told my wife it was for her and I to split. That was our... Because I asked her, I said, did you want one of these shirts? And she said, not really. So I said, okay, that's cool. Out of the merch... Bloodywood had the coolest stuff. And I did get a Bloodywood shirt that has an elephant that has a hammer. And it looks like it's quote-unquote blood, but it's like hot pink and like really wild colors. So it's really neat. The only thing I didn't like about it is it didn't have the tour dates on the back. And I'm a big guy for tour date shirts. So, but I got a Bloodywood shirt. Black Veil Bride shirt had the dates on the back. And then the BabyMetal shirt's cool. It's kind of anime looking. And again, has the dates on the back. So we get to our spot in the lawn and Bloodywood comes out. And I don't know if I've talked about Bloodywood on the show before, but if I haven't, I should, because they freaking rule. Like, so if you've never heard of Bloodywood, they're essentially Indian nu metal. They are from New Delhi, and they basically have super heavy detuned riffs. They got one guy that kind of sings and screams, and they got another guy that raps. And it's super heavy, but it's bouncy and it's fun. And then mixed in with all that, they have like the actual like Indian folk instruments and have a lot of that like... I'm not going to make the sound and come across racist, but you know what I mean? Like it has like that Indian folk music mixed in with like the heavy chugs and the rap and the screaming, and it's great. It's so good. And so I was having a blast the whole time they were playing. 6-year-old wasn't as into it, but my wife dug it, and we were having a lot of fun. And the people around us, a lot of people were still sitting, but a lot of people were standing up. There was 1 or 2 people near us that were really into it and having a good time. And so one of the things that I do want to criticize, I don't want to say criticize, but one of the things that crossed my mind with Bloodywood and then also eventually Black Veil Brides was BabyMetal. If you've never heard of BabyMetal, they are a Japanese heavy metal band that essentially the vocalists are 3 young Japanese girls. They're in their 20s, I think, now. But the band themselves are all, you know, guys, and it's super heavy. They all wear masks. So if this comes out during our month of masks, this totally fits. But it's not marketed as like a kids band, not necessarily. Like it's not necessarily like marketed as a children's act, but they are clean, except for when they have guest vocalists, which is something they have started to do in like mass over the past couple months and coming up on their new album, which comes out in August next month. Because like most of their music, now granted, most of the lyrics are in Japanese, but I have looked at a lot of the lyrics. Like one of their biggest songs is called Gimme Chocolate. And that's exactly what it's about. There's also a song called Headbangers, where it's just talking about banging your head to heavy metal. So it's like, they're fairly good-natured. So why does Bloodywood and Black Veil Brides have to say the F word and MFer like over and over in between every song? And my 6-year-old, like, we're not like super whatever. Like she's heard cuss words and she knows the difference between right and wrong. So she knows not to repeat those words. But every time they did it, she would like turn around and look at us like, really? Again? And kind of felt the same way. It was like, there are tons of kids in this audience. I will say, that is one of the most diverse crowds I've ever seen. I have seen, it was people of all different nationalities, all people on the gender spectrum. Like, it was really cool to see like that many different people. And then ages as well. We saw people that were probably in their 50s and 60s, My daughter was 6. She wasn't the youngest one there. So, but I digress. Bloodywood was fun. Very heavy, very bouncy, right up my alley. I had a lot of fun during the other two bands, but if I had to pick one, I would say Bloodywood is probably my favorite. So then Black Veil Brides comes out. Now, my kids and my wife have been fans of Black Veil Brides for a while. I think they like the music just fine, but I think they also find Andy to be a very, very good-looking person. And you know what? He is. There's no denying it. He's one of those, like, freaks that won the genetic lottery. He's just a gorgeous person. But anyway, so they came out, and what's interesting is when they performed, they did play like one or two newer songs, but they played a lot of their older stuff that's a little more like metalcore and had a little bit more screaming. And I think it was just because of who they were on tour with. Because we've seen them before open for In This Moment. And when they opened for In This Moment, I felt like they did a little bit more of the, I don't know exactly what you call it. I almost describe their, some of their more recent music as like Five Finger Death Punch from Hot Topic. Like it has that same kind of like rock, like it's not quite metal, but it's not new metal, it's not metalcore, it's heavier than just quote unquote rock and roll music, but it's not really butt rock either. So it's kind of this like in between thing, but it's catchy and it's well produced and it's a lot of fun. So I was surprised that during their set they mostly played sort of like their heavier, screamier stuff, but I guess it makes sense with who they were playing with. But anyway, they were good. Nothing really stood out, except, however, I think it was during their first song, something happened with the PA. So they were on stage playing, and the entire sound just disappeared. And they kept going. I'm imagining, like I was telling my wife this, they probably had their in-ear monitors working just fine and didn't even realize that the sound had cut out. At least not the first time, because it did it at least one more time, maybe two more times. And at that point, you could see Andy, the lead vocalist, kind of looking around like, what's going on? He might have heard it, or he might have just seen the people in the crowd looking around like, where the hell did the music go? You know, so I don't know for sure. But they were pretty good. They were fun. And so then, in between Black Veil Brides and BabyMetal, I took my daughter to walk around and look around and stuff. And what was kind of fun, I was going to show her. So when I played at the Fillmore, if you come out of the back of the Fillmore, you can actually, it butts up against the back of the amphitheater. So when I played there, I would kind of come out, and I've walked out onto that stage a couple times. Never played at the amphitheater, but I did play at the Fillmore a few times. And so I was kind of walking around back there and stuff. So I was just taking her to see that. And when we did, what was kind of cool was we actually could see kind of like the backstage area, and we saw a couple of the dudes from BabyMetal, the band members. They had their masks and their like robes on, and they were back there talking to people and stuff. Now we couldn't get back there. There was security and stuff, but we could see them, and I was showing her, and she thought it was pretty cool. I think we were on our way to fill up our popcorn, because apparently popcorn was like $14, but it was bottomless, so you could just keep refilling it. So that's what we ate for 5 hours. I want to say Mountain Dews were like $8 or $9. I mean, these prices are just kind of bonkers. But anyway, so we get back over to our seats, and BabyMetal is, I say seats. We get back to the grass, and BabyMetal starts, and it's really good. Like, they've got a great big screen that's showing all kinds of cool animation and stuff. And here's something that they did that I thought was pretty cool. So I mentioned earlier that BabyMetal, actually, they've been around for like 12 or 13 years. Like, they've been around a long time. And just within, I mean, I guess they've always had like collaborators and stuff. A matter of fact, well, I'll get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. But on this new album, they have a whole lot of guest vocalists and actually guest guitar players as well. And so when they do those songs, up on the screen behind them, they will either play the music video where you see the guys that, or whoever's doing guest spots on the song, or they'll actually have just like a video of that person performing, almost like they might have shot it at some other time or something. And some of those people are Poppy, Alex Terrible from Slaughter to Prevail. Actually, the Slaughter to Prevail thing seems more like a Slaughter to Prevail song with BabyMetal, the girls singing on top of it. And then Electric Callboy, which that's a fun song. I think it's called Rat-a-tat-tat-ta. If you've never heard it, it's fun. The song with Alex Terrible is called 3, and it's, I mean, like I said, it's a Slaughter to Prevail song. It's brutal. Then they do another song, I think it's just called Metal, and Tom Morello plays a Tom Morello-esque guitar solo in the middle of it. So they had a big screen of him, like, playing. The one that, like, doesn't piss me off or anything, but, like, they do a song with Bloodywood. So I thought, for sure, those dudes are going to come out on stage and do the song with them. No, same thing. They just had a screen with the two singers, like, that seemed like a little bit of a cop-out to me. But anyway, BabyMetal was a lot of fun. They were really cool. They were energetic. The girls talk a little bit between songs, and it's sort of hard to understand what they're saying. I will say what was fun, though, was they did one of those things where they told the whole crowd to get down, and then when the song kicked in, everybody jumped up, and that was kind of fun. They did do the encore thing where they left the stage and then, you know, waited a few beats and came back and did 2 or 3 more. And what was funny about that is we saw people leaving. Now, granted, maybe they knew that was like an encore and they knew more songs were coming, but I'm wondering if that's like a lost thing, because it like used to be like, you can usually, if you know a band's catalog well enough, you probably know if there's a big song they haven't played yet, you know? So I feel like the encore thing, not that it's like not cool, but just sort of like, I don't know, you know? But anyway, I digress. They came back and did a few songs. And what was kind of funny was, and I proved myself right later, was one of the songs they played, I said, this sounds like Dragon Force. And the guys up there on stage are playing it. And I mean, they're shredding and it's great. And I'm like, damn, I swear that sounds like Dragon Force. So sure enough, a couple days later, we're in the car. The girls want to listen to BabyMetal. And for the record, my 3-year-old also loves BabyMetal. Like, she will request it by name. It's very funny that they're both so into it. So, but anyway, yeah, they do a song with Sam Totten, I think, and Herman Lee from Dragon Force. They wrote the music and play guitars on it. And it's like, it's so neat that, you know, BabyMetal, for as maybe kid-friendly as it appears, does have a lot of cred in that way. So, BabyMetal does their thing, and the show's over, and we didn't hit a ton of traffic. It was pretty easy to get in and out. We had a great time. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, nothing super crazy happened. Everything went pretty smooth. We had a good time. I had a great time. The girls had a great time. It was a wonderful trip. So I'm just curious if any of you guys watching this or listening to this, have you ever seen BabyMetal or Black Veil Brides or Bloodywood? If you have not, all 3 bands are worth seeing live if you get the opportunity to. But for me, and the new metal monster's heart, Bloodywood is right up my alley. Those guys. Speaking of which, as we were leaving, a couple of the guys from Bloodywood were actually like, they're behind the gate, like where the buses are, but like people were walking by and they were just standing there smoking cigarette or whatever. And I saw a couple people stop and kind of talk to them. And I got the impression that they were tired. They weren't really in the mood to like hang out, you know, like one of the guys, he yelled, he's like, "Hey, do you guys got a Sharpie?" And they're both like, "No, we're trying to take a break." You know, it's like, I wasn't going to bother them. Like, a lot of times I will run straight to them and be like, "Hey, sign my shit," you know, whatever. But I was just like, nah, let's just keep going. Anyway, if you haven't seen these bands, I highly recommend it. BabyMetal was a ton of fun. A lot of energy there. And one final piece that I thought was really funny. The day of the concert, I got on my Facebook, and you know how Facebook memories will pop up. I had a memory from 11 years ago, where I made a Facebook post that said, hey, I just found this new band that I really like. This is pretty crazy, but I think it's killer. And it was Gimme Chocolate by BabyMetal. And I even shared a second music video too, because I was like so into it. 11 years ago to the date that we went and saw them in concert. So I thought that was a funny little coinky dink. But anyway, if you went to this tour, or if you've seen any of these bands live, or if you have any more questions about their performances or whatever, I didn't want to read the set list because 3 bands, and to be honest with you, I can't even pronounce half of BabyMetal's song titles, so I wasn't going to try. But yeah, let me know. Send us an email, breakdownsbreakfast@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, X. You know how to find us, and hope you have a great day.